Okay. So business cycle theories. We're going to be talking about three: real business cycle theory, monetarism, and Austrian school. So the first one is real business cycle theory, RBCT. Um, this school of thought primarily believes that downturns or recessions in the business cycle are caused by supply side shocks. They call technology shocks, and really it's immediate massive disruptions to the supply side that ripple through the economy, causing various other technology shocks as they kind of go. I kind of thought of it like dominoes as they kind of tend to go, which then contracts consumption, output, and you have this recessionary environment. I think a classic example would be the sudden oil short, like the contraction in oil supply and the immediate increase in oil costs that the U.S. Experienced in the 70s from the OPEC cartel. They tend to believe that those specific things cause those downturns. Interestingly enough, they posit that it's actually a plus in the sense that consumers, businesses, and the macro environment in general, when it experiences that, will, through its substitution and consumption, will find better things. So again, if we go back to the oil example, in a perfect world, you would see that as an issue, and you would build an economy that had a backstop. So renewables away from oil, but certainly during it and then after it, the macro environment would find better ways. It would find those backstops. Second one would be the Austrian business cycle theory, ABCT. Interestingly enough, they find that the causes of the recessions and the downturns in the business cycle are ultimately caused from the boom and bust cycle bubbles that are caused by the failed attempts at engineering from the central bank or central power of the government to engineer the economy. So they believe that one of the key things is that the intervention distorts price levels and actual values of assets in the macro environment, which lead to poor investments or misaligned investments. So as the interest rates are artificially lowered by the central bank and essentially opening up more credit in the environment than necessarily is there or is able to be supported by that, you're creating a bubble, right? And so those investments that maybe seemed like not great investments prior to the artificial lowering now seem like they could be okay. But it's not because the market is actually signaling to the entrepreneurs that is real, that asset is real, or that the savings are appropriately to support that price level. It's artificial. And it's purely structured on this artificial money or not money, but artificial credit lines that are being pushed out by these lower interest rates from the Fed, from the central bank, which ultimately creates the bubble, and that's the boom period. And then eventually, as the pendulum swings the other way and these interest rates start to rise, suddenly those investments do become untenable. The real price of them kind of comes into focus, and we have the bust, which leads to the recession and the contraction. Very much free markets run fine. It is the intervention and the manipulation and the fog cast throughout the macro environment by the central government that is the issue at hand. If we want better markets, then it's really just leave them be. Finally, we can talk about monetarism. Monetarism believes that the real issue or the real downturns in the business cycle are caused by sudden contractions in the money supply. Interestingly enough, a great example of this is the stagflation that we experienced in the 70s. you could a lot of people point to the Great Depression. The Fed was pulling back when we probably need more money supply. But essentially, monitors believe that in a rule-based approach to the central government and the money supply, that's where we get the quantum theory of money. They believe that it should be set as a rule as opposed to the central bank of the Federal being able to increase interest rates or lower them. It should be steady. We're going to set it at 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is, and that's the course, with the idea that the macro environment will know that that's how it's going to operate. It knows what's going to happen. And because of that, then your price levels are steady. They're growing, but they're not growing too fast, because while the neutrality postulate holds with the quantum theory of money, in the long run, in the short run, it can have large effects. If the money supply increases too quickly, price levels will increase much faster than the macro environment can handle. If it decreases at a rate, you'll get deflationary periods and you'll have contractions, right? And that'll cause recessions. Yeah, that's about it.